Thank you for joining us today as we explore the essential qualities, experiences, and capabilities required for the role of an IT project manager. In this interview, we will ask 10 focus questions designed to evaluate technical expertise, leadership, planning capabilities, and problem-solving skills. These questions aim to assess how candidates can lead teams, manage budgets and timelines, handle challenges, and ensure stakeholder satisfaction in fast-paced technological environments. Let's begin. 1. Can you describe your approach to initiating a new IT project, including planning, resource allocation, and stakeholder engagement? When initiating a new IT project, the process must begin with a thorough understanding of business requirements and goals. As an IT project manager, I begin by gathering input from key stakeholders to clearly define project objectives and success criteria. This includes identifying business needs, technical constraints, and user expectations. I conduct a feasibility study to assess technical, financial, and operational viability, followed by drafting a detailed project charter. This document outlines the scope, timeline, budget, and high-level risks. I then proceed to build a project plan that includes the work breakdown structure, resource assignments, communication plan, and quality metrics. Stakeholder engagement is a continuous process, starting from project kickoff. I establish clear communication channels and assign roles through our ACI matrix to ensure responsibilities are clear. During the resource allocation phase, I collaborate with department leads to confirm team availability and skill sets, ensuring balanced workloads. Budget and time estimates are established using historical data, expert judgment, and bottom-up estimation. Throughout planning, I prioritize risk mitigation by developing contingency strategies. A collaborative project kickoff meeting sets the tone for transparency and accountability. This approach ensures alignment across teams and stakeholders, reduces ambiguity, and lays the foundation for successful execution. 2. How do you manage competing priorities and handle scope creep in IT projects? Managing competing priorities and preventing scope creep are two of the most challenging yet critical responsibilities of an IT project manager. To address competing priorities, I begin with a clear prioritization framework that aligns with business goals. This involves collaborating with stakeholders to understand which deliverables drive the most value. I use methods like MOSCOW, must have, should have, could have, won't have, or value-based scoring to prioritize tasks and features. Once priorities are defined, I maintain a transparent task board and schedule regular review meetings to assess progress and make real-time adjustments. For scope creep, the most effective strategy is scope definition and control. I ensure every project has a clearly defined scope document, approved by stakeholders. Any requested change is evaluated through a formal change management process, where we assess the impact on timeline, budget, and resources. I use change request forms and impact analysis to present clear consequences to stakeholders before approving any changes. Communication plays a vital role in setting boundaries and managing expectations. I also train team members to identify unauthorized work that could lead to scope drift. Regular status reports and milestone reviews help reinforce focus and highlight when efforts deviate from the original plan. 3. How do you lead cross-functional teams and resolve conflicts among team members or stakeholders? Leading cross-functional teams in IT projects requires strong interpersonal skills, clear communication, and a proactive approach to conflict resolution. Each team member brings unique skills, responsibilities, and expectations, which can lead to misunderstanding or conflict if not managed properly. My leadership approach starts with establishing a shared vision and setting expectations early. I hold a kickoff meeting where team roles, responsibilities, and objectives are clarified. I encourage open communication by fostering a culture of psychological safety, where team members feel comfortable expressing concerns. To resolve conflicts, I act quickly and impartially. I listen actively to all parties, identify the root cause, and facilitate discussions focused on solutions, not blame. I use techniques like interest-based negotiation to find common ground. When team members are at odds, I emphasize shared goals and the bigger picture. For stakeholder conflict, I ensure everyone's expectations are managed through regular updates, documentation, and decision logs. Building trust is crucial, so I stay transparent and consistent in my decisions. I also watch for early signs of tension and address them before they escalate. Tools like RACI charts help reduce role ambiguity that often leads to conflict. Leading cross-functional teams successfully means recognizing individual motivations while uniting everyone under one shared purpose. 4. What tools and methodologies do you use to track progress and ensure timely delivery of IT projects? Delivering IT projects on time and within scope requires rigorous tracking, the right tools, and the appropriate methodology. My approach begins by selecting a methodology that best suits the project type. For agile projects, I use Scrum or Kanban to ensure iterative progress and stakeholder involvement. For traditional projects, I rely on the waterfall model when the requirements are fixed and timelines must be adhered to strictly. Tools play a significant role in project tracking. I commonly use platforms like Jira for agile sprints, MS Project for Gantt-based scheduling, and Confluence for knowledge sharing. These tools provide dashboards and real-time progress reports, which help keep stakeholders informed. Time tracking, task dependencies, and resource allocation are monitored closely. I set milestones and hold regular stand-ups or progress meetings to assess progress and remove blockers. Earned Value Management, EVM, is one method I use for budget and timeline performance. I monitor scope, cost, and schedule variance to understand whether we are on track. I also incorporate KPIs such as burn-down charts, velocity, and defect rates. For communication, I utilize Slack or Microsoft Teams, integrated with task tracking tools to centralize information. Keeping everything transparent and up-to-date helps identify delays early. 5. How do you handle project failures or missed deadlines, and what lessons have you learned from such experiences? Every IT project manager inevitably faces project setbacks, whether in the form of missed deadlines, technical issues, or complete failures. How these challenges are addressed often defines a manager's competence and resilience. When a project begins to deviate from its schedule or faces major obstacles, I conduct a root cause analysis immediately. I gather data and feedback from the team, assess timeline impacts, and engage stakeholders with full transparency. Rather than assign blame, I focus on what can be salvaged and recalibrated. I prioritize the most critical features and consider phased rollouts or rebaselining the timeline if necessary. One lesson I've learned is that over-optimism in planning often leads to unrealistic expectations. That's why I've adopted buffered timelines and contingency strategies. Another is the importance of escalation procedures. Delaying escalation only deepens problems. I've also realized the value of retrospectives, where the team reflects on what went wrong and documents insights for future projects. Communication is key during these times. Informing stakeholders promptly about delays and presenting action plans builds trust. 6. How do you manage project budgets, and what steps do you take to stay within financial constraints? Managing project budgets effectively is crucial to the success of any IT initiative. I start by creating a detailed cost estimate during the planning phase. This includes direct costs like software, hardware, and contractor fees, as well as indirect costs such as training, travel, and contingency reserves. I work closely with finance and procurement teams to align on funding sources, payment schedules, and vendor terms. Once the budget is approved, I monitor expenditures using a financial dashboard that tracks actual versus planned spending. I set up regular checkpoints to compare baseline budgets against current spending trends, which helps identify cost overruns early. If overspending occurs, I immediately analyze the variance and reallocate resources where needed. I also use earned value analysis to measure cost performance over time and assess whether we are deriving value equal to our investment. When needed, I renegotiate vendor contracts or scale back lower priority tasks to stay on track. Communication is key. I keep stakeholders informed about budget status and involve them in decisions affecting costs. 7. How do you ensure quality assurance throughout the lifecycle of an IT project? Ensuring quality assurance across an IT project's lifecycle means embedding quality into every phase, from initiation to closure. At the planning stage, I define quality standards and criteria for success, usually based on client expectations, compliance requirements, and industry benchmarks. These standards are documented in a quality management plan that outlines how quality will be measured, monitored, and controlled. During execution, I integrate regular testing phases, unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and user acceptance testing to identify issues early. I also make sure peer reviews and code walkthroughs are standard practice for development teams. Quality metrics like defect density, rework percentage, and test coverage are tracked using tools like Jira or TestRail. Throughout, I hold quality review meetings to ensure issues are not just identified but properly addressed. Continuous feedback loops with stakeholders and end users also help in fine-tuning features before final delivery. I involve QA professionals from the start to ensure quality is proactively managed, not just checked at the end. Documentation and audit trails are maintained to support compliance and provide traceability. Importantly, I foster a culture of quality by encouraging the team to take ownership of deliverable standards, reinforcing that quality is everyone's responsibility. 8. How do you adapt your project management approach when dealing with emerging technologies or rapidly changing requirements? Adapting to emerging technologies or evolving requirements requires agility, open-mindedness, and continuous learning. When working on projects involving new tools or unproven solutions, I start by conducting a feasibility analysis and gathering input from technical experts to assess risks and limitations. I often favor agile or hybrid methodologies in such cases because they allow for iterative development, continuous feedback, and quicker pivots. I break down large deliverables into small, manageable sprints, which lets us assess progress and course-correct with minimal disruption. In addition, I invest time in educating my team through quick knowledge sessions, workshops, or bringing in SMEs so they can confidently work with new technologies. When dealing with changing requirements, I maintain a dynamic backlog and hold frequent backlog grooming sessions with stakeholders to reassess priorities. Change requests are evaluated swiftly through a lean change control process, which includes real-time impact analysis and quick approvals to maintain project momentum. Communication becomes even more critical during uncertainty, so I increase the frequency of touchpoints with stakeholders, making sure expectations are updated regularly. My role is to keep the team focused on outcomes while giving them the flexibility to explore and innovate. 9. What strategies do you use to ensure stakeholder satisfaction and clear communication throughout the project? Maintaining stakeholder satisfaction hinges on clear, consistent communication and a deep understanding of their needs and priorities. I begin by identifying all stakeholders and mapping their interests and influence levels. This helps tailor my communication strategy. Executives often need high-level summaries, while technical stakeholders require detailed reports. I develop a communication plan that defines the frequency, format, and channels of communication. Regular status reports, project dashboards, and milestone reviews keep everyone informed and aligned. I use both synchronous tools like meetings and calls and asynchronous tools like email, dashboards, and reports to ensure no information gaps. Listening is as important as informing. I hold feedback sessions where stakeholders can voice concerns or suggest improvements. This ongoing dialogue builds trust and helps preempt issues before they escalate. Managing expectations is critical, so I avoid overpromising and always clarify what can realistically be delivered. I maintain a decision log and risk register so stakeholders see how their inputs are considered. When problems arise, I communicate them early, present solutions, and adjust plans transparently. Celebrating wins and recognizing stakeholder contributions also fosters positive engagement. Ultimately, my strategy is to be responsive, honest, and proactive. 10. What do you consider the most important traits of a successful IT project manager? And how do you demonstrate them in your work? A successful IT project manager must combine technical knowledge with leadership, communication, adaptability, and strategic thinking. One of the most important traits is the ability to lead diverse teams toward a common goal. This requires not only organizational skills but emotional intelligence to understand team dynamics and motivate individuals. Communication is equally vital. I ensure information flows freely between technical teams, business stakeholders, and executives, translating complex updates into language that suits each audience. Another key trait is adaptability. IT projects often face shifting requirements, new technologies, and external disruptions. I stay adaptable by fostering a learning culture within the team, staying current with industry trends, and being open to iterative approaches. Risk management is also crucial. I constantly assess potential roadblocks and develop mitigation strategies in advance. Strategic thinking allows me to align project outcomes with long-term business goals. I don't just focus on task completion. I look at how the work supports the company's broader mission. I also believe that accountability and integrity are the foundation of trust. I take responsibility for outcomes, good or bad, and use lessons learned to drive improvement. Strong IT project management blends leadership, clear communication, adaptability, and strategic focus. By applying these principles consistently, I ensure successful project delivery, stakeholder satisfaction, and long-term value. My goal is always to lead projects that drive real business impact.